want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you. Okay, so do you remember last week when it was Pink Week and I told you that there is a common myth that pink is Marian Sunday? But it really isn't. It happens to be pink because pink is kind of cool. But actually the more traditional color for Mary is blue. So, and someday we can get into all the weird history that goes into that, but we probably don't need to today. So this Sunday is actually Mary's Sunday, or as I call it, Feminist Sunday, because women are rocking the Bible today. And I think it's incredibly powerful. And I have a confession. I was raised an Episcopalian, but I attended a Roman Catholic elementary school. And you guys know me now. You can imagine what I was like at that age. I was roughly the same, only shorter. And my theology was, I would like to think that it's more advanced now, but it's rooted. It was rooted then, and I really, really struggled with Mary. I'll be frank, I didn't like Mary. I didn't. Because Mary was offered to me, and Marian worship is this way. That's the technical term for it, Marian worship, or honoring of Mary, and which is really, really big in the Roman Church, and very, very popular in the Anglo-Catholic Church, which is the Episcopal High Church, and it's Anglo-Catholic. And so Marian stuff is very, very important. And so here I was as a young girl raised by nuns with Marian teachings. To the degree that there was one day for Mary Day that all the girls had to dress in white robes and wear flowers on their head and dance around a statue of Mary. I know. All the former Romans in the room are like, yeah, been there. I've had to do that dance. But the whole thing about Mary is that she was young and she was good. She was very, very good. And Mary, she did what she was told. She didn't ask no questions to nobody. Angel shows up and she's like, of course. Yes, whatever you say. And then, bless her heart, she didn't have sex, ever. And I'm like, have you read the Bible? Because, he's got brothers and sisters and stuff. But whatever. The Virgin Mary, we're really, really into the Virgin Mary and all of her glory because she was pure and good. And she did what she was told, and she used her uterus for the grace of God. And I had the same attitudes as a young child that I do now. I'm like, no. Not acceptable, not okay with this. And it wasn't until I was in college that I really started studying Scripture more and studying the history, which, by the way, the term virgin is really young woman. That's what it is. When you look at Scripture, it doesn't mean anything about hymen or anything like that. Though whatevs. We're getting all technical because kids are in Sunday school, so I can say whatever I want. We're going to get real here. Okay, so, but then, you really start to study her, and she's a profound theologian. And let's put this next to Zechariah. Zechariah is a priest. He's Elizabeth's husband. She also has a pure and holy child. But Zechariah, Gabriel, because these stories are right next to each other. So Zechariah, a priest, he's wonderful, he's great, he's a priest. Priests are great. They're all great. They're great. But Gabriel comes to Zechariah and is like, so your wife's going to have a baby. And he's like, ha, that's ridiculous. She's old. Guys, things not to say about your wife. She's old. She ain't going to have no baby. There's no baby there. And Gabriel's like, well, yes, actually, God's going to do this thing. And because you're such a jerk, you're going to be mute until the baby's born. Don't be a jerk when Gabriel shows up and gives you, fertility recommendations. You say, thank you, Gabriel, that's great. You don't argue with Gabriel. It's not a thing. But Zechariah does, and so he's mute until John is born, and then names him. His wife actually names him, but whatever. Let's not get technical. So we have these, but Mary, on the other hand, Gabriel shows up, and she listens to what he has to say, and she's like, and this is not a stupid girl who's like, whatever you say, magical angel man. No, she thinks about it, and she's like, okay, I'll do it. And she does this with full knowledge. And you might remember a few weeks ago, we were reading about Hannah, and we read the Song of Hannah. And I said to you, pay attention. You're going to hear this again. And you're like, are we? Because, no. Okay, did you hear it today? It's Magnificat. So when Mary gets this news, she who is a devout Jew and theologically very knowledgeable, she says, I am one more of a long line of women for whom none of this should have happened, but God acts, and God uses us to bring forth God's promise. And she uses the Song of Hannah, but she rewrites it. It's a theologically powerful thing. Read it. It's all about God raising up the lowly and tearing down the mighty. I mean, it's powerful theological language. And that is how she sees herself. Not as some dumb chick who got knocked up by Gabriel, but as this theological, powerful woman who says, you know what, I commit to God doing this, and I will participate in this. She doesn't do it without knowledge. She does it knowingly, committed to doing this. And I think what's also powerful in this is the conversation between Elizabeth and Mary. Because we have two religious women, two divine pregnancies. They're cousins, but we have these divine stories. John and Jesus. So two women. And remember, at this time, who you are as a woman is measured by who your spouse is, by who your son is. I mean, we do that today. That's why we all Pinterest all the time, because I'm like, who I am as a mom is like how successful my kid is, right? No, not really, because God help me if that's the case. Whew, let's not go there. But for Elizabeth and for Mary, we have this idea that coming forward, their identity is wrapped up in their progeny. And yet we have this beautiful moment where they come together and they support each other. And that's really significant because Zechariah is mute because he was a jerk to Gabriel. Don't ever be a jerk to an angel. If you learn one thing today, don't be a jerk to an angel. They will smite you. And then Mary is not married yet, and she's also pregnant with a divine child. And you would almost kind of expect them to clash, wouldn't you? Because who each woman is could be dependent on which one is the Messiah, on which one is successful, which one is really, truly the Holy Child, because that's who they are, right? But they don't do that. That's not what they do. What they do is they both celebrate with each other, and then they end up supporting each other. In fact, the babies themselves, this whole leaping in the womb, yeah, that's a little word, but it's a powerful image, isn't it? And that these women do not have competition. They both recognize in the other a divine God-bearer. And one of the terms, and why I've always been uncomfortable with the Marian stuff until later when I actually started studying her, is that Mary has always been raised up as, if you want to be a good Christian, be pure, have babies. I'm not really good at either one of those things. So, here we are. And yet, and the term God-bearer is frequently used. Mary is the God-bearer, which kind of alludes to like her uterus being magical. But I want us to actually think about that term, the God bearer, because she realizes that it's not about reproduction. It's not about her uterus. It's not about any of those things. It's about her carrying God's will into the world. She does that with her heart and her mind, not with any sort of reproductive organ. And what does it mean for her to recognize in Elizabeth that same gift? And what does it mean for Elizabeth to recognize in Mary being a true God-bearer? And what does it mean for us if we realize that we too are called to be God-bearers, which has nothing to do with any sort of internal machinery, but with our hearts and our minds? What does that mean? What does that mean for us to realize that we are all called to bearing God in this world? And if we do that, what does it also mean for us to recognize that other people are bearers of God? Because that's where it gets tricky, isn't it? Because sometimes if I'm in a really good place, I recognize that I'm called to those things. I recognize that I'm called to be God's witness in the world. If I'm in a good place, I realize that and I remember that. The next step is me realizing that everybody else is too. And sometimes that's hard because I don't necessarily like the way y'all be out there bearing God's witness. Because that way ain't my way. But what if I realize that that's God's way? And what if I realize that that is a necessary way for God to be in this world, to be a witness to other people? What if my way isn't the only way? What if their way is also a way of bearing God's witness into the world? What does that mean? What does that mean for me to support, as Elizabeth and Mary do to each other? Not to see it as a competition, not to see it as, if you're bearing God, then what am I doing? And to feel threatened in my bearing of God. What does it mean to say, you know what? We're all in this together. Because not one of us can do this alone. Not one church, not one denomination, not one clergy person. None of us could ever bear God's witness alone. But we can do it together. And we do that, God within us leaps for joy.
We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.